This is Yu, a guy with a bizarre ability that lets him take control of anyone's body for 5 seconds. The moment he activates his power on someone standing in front of him, he controls them completely, while his real body loses consciousness entirely until he returns again after the 5 seconds are over. And of course, an ability like this let him do anything he wanted. Like for example, he could be walking behind a gang, then suddenly get in the mood to start a fight, so he takes control of one of them, and makes him punch the guy next to him, and boom, they all start beating each other up, while our guy is lying unconscious behind them, until he returns to his body again, then wakes up with the biggest evil grin you could ever see on his face. After that, he heads to school, and we see him sitting like a boss among his classmates without studying anything for the exam, but sitting there with unbelievable confidence. Then suddenly he activates his power, and takes control of a nerd sitting in front of him, and reads his paper. And not just him, he went around to every genius student in the class, and memorized all their answers, then returned to his body again while feeling happier than ever. And on the day of the results, we see the honor board and Yu is ranked first in the class without competition. He walks past the students without caring at all. Looking so charismatic you'd think he was perfect, while actually being the biggest cheater in history. And just like that, Yu finished middle school. And while walking down the street, he keeps thinking that he has to enroll in the greatest high school in the country. But there's one problem he's going to face, which is that during the entrance exams, he won't know which genius students will be there. So immediately he disguises himself and sneaks into every elite school just to learn about the smart students inside them, until finally he chooses a school and takes the entrance exam, and of course you already know how he passed it. Then the day of the entrance ceremony arrives, and they announce that Yu is the student representative because he ranked first in the entrance exam. So he walks to the stage with the most wicked smile on his face and starts giving a speech, while the students sitting there are completely amazed by him, having no idea what's really inside him. After that, they go to the ranking board and discover that Yu is ranked first in the entire grade, while our guy is standing among them unable to hide his evil laughter. But from far away there's someone watching him through a camera because they suspect him. Later, he heads to class and spends his school day there. And since he was living the role of the perfect student, he had to catch the attention of the best girl in school, whose name was Yumi. So he stands far away watching her while she's talking with her friend, thinking nonstop about a plan that would make her come to him herself. Then the moment he notices a truck coming toward them, the perfect plan suddenly pops into his head. So he uses his power and controls Yumi's friend, making her run away. Then he controls the truck driver to make him crash into Yumi, and at that moment our heroic protagonist runs quickly toward Yumi to save her, while the truck driver smashes straight into the wall. And of course none of that matters. The important thing is that he played the hero and saved the princess. And when her friend comes to check on her, Yu tells her, "Don't worry, your friend is safe, I saved her at the last second." Then he offers to walk her to the nurse's office so her wound can be treated. And after they finish, he tells them, "Excuse me, I have to leave now because I still need to study." So Yumi offers to treat him to food as thanks. And our genius couldn't believe the plan actually worked, but he pushes the situation even further and tells them, "Honestly, I'm really busy," just so they would insist more before he finally agrees. And someone is still watching him because they suspect him. Then Yu and Yumi head to a restaurant together, and they eat pies side by side. After they finish, Yumi thanks him again for saving her and promises she'll invite him out many more times, while Yu is extremely happy about how successful his plan turned out. And on the next day, while Yu is sitting in class, he receives a message from Yumi asking him to go out with her again after school today. Our guy can't even control himself anymore, so he suddenly stands up and starts laughing in an evil way, while the whole class is confused about what exactly he's doing, but immediately he covers his mouth and returns once again to his charismatic act. At that moment, an announcement comes through the speakers saying that student Yu is requested to report to the student council immediately. Yu has no idea why they want him, so he texts Yumi that he'll be late and she replies that she'll wait for him. After that, he heads to the student council room and tells the student council president there that he hopes they finish whatever they want quickly because he's busy and has an important appointment afterward. Then the president tells him, "The thing I'm holding in my hand right now is your answer sheet from the aptitude exam. All the answers are perfect and you got a full score. And these right in front of you are the exact same questions you already solved before. What we need from you now is to get the same score again. Otherwise, you'll be considered a cheater because some people claim that you cheated on the exam." Yu gets shocked when he hears those words and tells him, "I'm not obligated to deal with this nonsense. I'm leaving." Then the president tells him, "We received direct orders from the principal for this. If you run away now, you'll be expelled from the school." At that moment, Yu becomes terrified and realizes there's no escape. So he sits down to solve the test, while the president sits in front of him watching carefully while holding a paper in his hand. Yu thinks the paper in his hand must be my old answer sheet. All I have to do is control him and see the answers. But the moment he activates his power, he discovers that it's actually a fake sheet, so he tears it apart. And the moment he regains consciousness, he finds the girl who had been watching him with the camera standing beside him, and she tells him, "I caught you, cheater. I'm Tamori, the student council president of a nearby school, and I've been recording you the whole time because I suspected you." Then she shows him on the camera the moment he lost consciousness earlier, and made the president tear apart the paper, and she also shows him every single time he used his power, where the one thing all the incidents had in common was him lying unconscious beside every strange event. So she concludes that he has a special ability that allows him to control other people's bodies, and that's what helped him cheat on every exam. At that moment Yu becomes extremely nervous and furious at them, and starts yelling that he suffers from a disease called sleeping sickness, and that's the reason behind all the fainting spells he experiences. Then Tamori tells him, "I already knew you were going to say that." So she pulls out his medical report and tells him the report says you don't suffer from any disease with that name, and because of that you can now continue solving the questions. That moment, the guy completely loses his mind after getting caught, so he throws the desk away and starts running out of the place, crashing into a guy who was walking in on them named Takajo. Takajo immediately realizes that he really is a cheater just like they said about him, and starts chasing after him. Yu keeps running until he finally reaches Yumi, and tells her they need to run away quickly. He grabs her hand while she has no idea what's happening, causing her to fall onto the ground, and Yu leaves her behind and escapes, so Takajo goes over to her and makes sure she's okay. Meanwhile Yu keeps running through the streets until he completely loses their trail, but suddenly an explosion happens behind him, making him realize they're still chasing him. He gets terrified and keeps running, while behind him she is dashing like lightning and causing explosions everywhere. Poor Yu feels like tanks are running after him, and keeps escaping while scared to death. He continues running until the sun is almost setting, breathing heavily from exhaustion, and the moment he looks behind him he's shocked to see that Takajo is still chasing him. Then suddenly Takajo adjusts his glasses and rushes toward him at insane speed, grabs him, flies into the air with him, and slams straight down into the water like a wrestling move. After a while we see the dangerous Takajo dragging Yu out of the water, while Yu can't understand whether the thing standing in front of him is even human or something else entirely. Then Takajo tells him this is the teleportation ability, it lets me move from one place to another at incredible speed. Then suddenly he starts crying and tells him but sadly I can't control it properly, and I ended up in the hospital many times. So Yu thinks to himself, what kind of defective ability is this? Then afterward he tells him, "Alright then, what exactly are you going to do with me now?" At that moment Tamori walks up to them and tells him we're transferring you to our school. As you already know, the world is filled with people who have supernatural abilities just like you. You're not the only one who has one. You can think of these powers as a disease that affects some people during adolescence and disappears once they grow up, and until your ability disappears, you'll have to stay in our school. And don't worry, I already got your parents' approval. Yu gets extremely angry from her irritating words and stands up to hit her, but suddenly she disappears from in front of him, then starts beating Yu left and right before landing a kick that throws him onto the ground. Takajo tells him that's her ability, invisibility. You can't believe someone has an awesome ability like that, but Takajo tells him it's not like you imagine. You were the only one who couldn't see her, while I could still see her normally while she was hitting you. Her power only works on one target, while everyone else can see her moving around normally. So Yu stands up while thinking to himself even her ability is defective too. Then Tamori tells him, by the way, you're also joining our student council. Your ability is useful and we want you to cooperate with us. So he asks her cooperate with you in what exactly? Then she tells him we'll work together to confront people who misuse their abilities just like you. The meeting finally ends and Yu returns home, where he meets his little sister Ayumi, who gets shocked the moment she sees his bruised face. So he tells her don't worry, a ball hit my face while I was playing soccer. Then she tells him that today their uncle called and said they're transferring to a new school, and at that moment he realizes the whole thing was actually real and tells her yeah, that's right. After that, they go eat dinner, and his sister excitedly tells him, I made your favorite dish, rice omelette. Yu gets slightly annoyed because he used to love that dish when he was younger but not anymore. Then the moment he tastes it, he discovers it tastes horribly sweet, and that's because of the pizza sauce poured all over it. At that moment we learn that this family only has two people, Yu and his sister Ayumi. But Ayumi tells him I have a feeling there used to be another person in our family. So Yu tells her no, we don't have anyone else. After dinner, Ayu goes outside to watch the stars because it's her favorite hobby. So her brother tells her, let's go sleep already because tomorrow morning we're transferring to the new school. And on the next morning they move to the new place, while his sister is happier than ever. Afterward, Yu goes to meet Yumi and apologizes to her because he suddenly transferred from the school and tells her that he has a private reason he can't talk about, and sadly he might not be able to see her again. So she promises him that she'll never forget that he saved her life. Then she stands up, thanks him, leaves the place, and walks away, while Yu remains frozen in shock from everything that happened because of Tamori and Takajo. He stays shocked even after returning home, where he finds Tamori and Tajo already inside his house. So Yu starts yelling at them asking what brought you two here, while his sister Ayumi walks by and welcomes them warmly. Then they introduce themselves to her as Yu's classmates from the student council, and explain that they came to help them move the furniture. Yu tells them to stay out of their business, but his sister interrupts him and says, while feeling happier than ever, yes, we really need your help. Meanwhile Yu is unbelievably annoyed by them and can't stand them at all. Then all of them start arranging the house together, while Tamori begins getting to know his sister and shows her the invisibility ability as if it's a magic trick. Yu gets annoyed by her and tells her to stop fooling around, or he'll kick her out. So Tamori tells his sister, your brother is a terrifying person. After they finish arranging the house, Tamori and Takajo say goodbye to them before leaving. Then Ayumi tells them, wait, let's have dinner together, but Yu tells them we don't even have enough plates for 4 people, so just leave already. Then Tamori says goodbye to Ayumi and tells her don't worry, we'll meet again soon. During dinner Ayumi makes him rice omelette with pizza sauce once again, while her brother eats it while feeling annoyed. Then they watch on television a famous singer named Yusa, and Ayumi is an enormous fan of her. And on the following day they wake up early in order to begin studying at their new school. And we see Yu getting himself ready for school while his sister hands him his lunch, which once again turns out to be rice omelette. And poor guy seriously can't tolerate this food anymore. But he still takes the meal and heads to school. And the moment he arrives at school, he finds Tamori and Takajo standing right in front of him, welcoming him to their school. Then they explain to him that every student in this school has a special ability, and that they gathered them all here in order to protect them from becoming lab rats for scientists. Then Tamori tells him that if they ever catch you, your life will be over. So he tells her she's definitely exaggerating, but she replies, no, I'm telling you exactly what happened to my older brother. Then she explains to him that the student council has a special mission, which is capturing every ability user like you before anyone else reaches them, then either protecting them or threatening them, so they never use their powers again. So Yu asks her, why exactly do I have to help you with this? Then she tells him, don't worry, you'll get paid in exchange for your help. How are you going to feed your sister while being unemployed? So Yu gets extremely annoyed and feels like there's no escape. After that, Yu heads to his classroom and introduces himself while feeling happy, until he gets hit with the biggest shock ever when he discovers that Tamori and Takajo are in the exact same class with him. And not only that, he's also going to sit right in front of Takajo. Then lunchtime arrives, and Yu discovers that his sister packed him the same disgusting rice omelette again. And the moment Takajo comes over so they can eat lunch together, Yu quickly hides the food and tells him I don't have lunch today. So they head together toward the cafeteria, but they find the line incredibly long and the place completely crowded. Then Takajo tells him don't worry, I'll use my ability and get the food quickly. So he prepares the money and immediately teleports at insane speed to the front of the line and grabs the sandwiches. But unfortunately he destroys the entire place because his ability is defective. Afterward he returns to Yu holding the sandwiches while blood is dripping from his head. And Yu is completely confused about what kind of strange human being is standing in front of him. Afterward, they go sit down and eat lunch together, and Yu notices that Tamori is sitting completely alone without any friends. So Takajo explains to him that it's because of her ability. Her power only makes her disappear in front of one single person, while everyone else sees her as a violent person hurting people, and because of that she's hated. Then afterward she walks over to them and informs them that another member of the student council will be arriving soon. Then they head to the student council room for a meeting, and Yu is confused by the appearance of the room and the map lying on the table. Then suddenly a strange person enters soaked in water with long hair, walks directly toward the map, drops a water droplet onto it, and tells them this person's ability, thought photography. Then the moment he leaves, Yu asks them in confusion who exactly was that strange person. So Takajo tells him that's one of our members. He informs us about the locations of people with abilities and what their powers are. Then Tamori tells them we need to go find the owner of this ability and capture him. So Yu tells her, do you seriously think we're the police, or something? Then Takajo tells him, well, if the police catch him before we do, that person's life will be over. and at that moment Yu starts feeling suffocated by them. Then they head toward the location of the target person, and Tamori tells them to split up in order to search for him. So Yu looks at them in disgust and tells them, what exactly am I supposed to do? Then Takajo tells him maybe you can ask people if anything strange happened. Then he and Tamori start running around asking people if they saw anything unusual, while Yu believes they're officially insane. He keeps standing in his place until Tamori comes over and informs him that there's a suspicious person, and she wants him to control his body and search through his belongings. So he asks her, why should I even do that? Then she tells him because we're trying to protect the owner of the special ability. So Yu is forced to agree while annoyed. And they immediately start chasing after a suspicious man carrying a bag and acting strangely. Then quickly Yu activates his ability and takes control of him, throwing everything inside the bag onto the ground. Tamori immediately starts searching through his papers, while Takajo activates his super speed and throws the man away. At that moment Yu discovers that the man possesses two pictures, one real and the other fake, for the purpose of blackmail or making money. So the man tells her, it wasn't me, I bought them from a student named Odo, the archery club captain. And while Odo was practicing, Tamori suddenly appears in front of him using her ability, then immediately confronts him with the truth that he's using his ability to create inappropriate photos in order to make money. So he denies everything and tells her, I have no idea what you're talking about. Then she tells him, we searched your locker and found millions of photos inside it, and I photographed everything with my camera so it can be used as evidence against you. At that moment Odo admits that he did all of it in order to make money, then pulls out a blank picture and tells her, if you don't leave right now, I'll use my ability on you and your picture will spread everywhere. But suddenly Yu controls him and makes him throw the picture away, while Odo has no idea what just happened. Then Tamori tells him it's better for him to surrender, but Odo grabs his bow and shoots an arrow at her. However, Takajo uses his incredible speed to catch the arrow before it reaches her. Then Tamori tells him, we won't report you to the police, but you have to stop using this ability or your life will be destroyed. Do you want scientists dissecting your body? So Odo becomes terrified and finally listens to them in the end. After the mission succeeds, the three of them head back together, and Yu asks Tamori, why exactly are you doing all this? So she tells him, because we don't want others to go through what happened to my older brother. Then he asks her what happened to him after the scientists caught him. So she tells him, tomorrow I'll take you to my brother's place so you can see him yourself. And on the following day, he and Tamori ride a bus toward the place where her brother is staying. And she tells him about her brother back when they were little children long ago. She once entered her brother's room carrying her acceptance letter into an elite school. So he became happy for her and told her, you're honestly smarter than me. Then she replied, no, you're talented too, and your band is going to become the most famous band ever. Then she learns from him that he admires a band called Jind. But after several days, their mother informs them that she's forced to send them away to a boarding school. Then her son becomes furious because he wants to focus on music and become the most famous singer ever, until they see their mother begging them desperately to agree. And eventually they truly go to that school, which Tamori later discovers was only pretending to be a school on the surface. Every single day after classes ended she was forced to undergo medical examinations, and despite the fact that she and her brother were in the same school, they never even met once. Meanwhile, during that time her brother was being used as a lab rat. His ability was controlling wind, and the scientists wanted to exploit that power in order to cut communications and airwaves. Then after an entire year she finally manages to meet her brother. But that person was no longer anything like her brother anymore, and he didn't even recognize that she was his sister. And the reason they kept examining her every day was because there was a high possibility that siblings could both possess special abilities, and because of that Tamori escaped from that school. At that moment the bus arrives at the destination, and the second they enter the hospital where her brother is staying, they find him tearing apart pillows like a madman. Then Tamori tells him that right now he believes he's playing a melody on the guitar. And after a while, once he calms down, his sister takes him and walks with him around the hospital for a bit. Then Yu asks her who pays all the hospital expenses for you. So she tells him it's because of the only person I trust. He's the one who transferred my brother here without any costs. Then Yu tells her maybe they'll invent medicine soon that can cure your brother. So she replies, unfortunately nobody cares about saving patients like my brother. Afterward they head back, and Yu returns home where he finds his sister upset because he came back late. So he apologizes to her because he was busy with the student council. Then Ayumi goes to prepare dinner, while Yu starts wondering if his sister also has a special ability too. Then afterward they sit together and eat, and luckily this time the food is different. But the second he tastes it he discovers it has the same disgusting sweet flavor. Then excitedly she tells him that she cooked it with pizza sauce. the secret ingredient of their family, while you seriously can't tolerate that flavor anymore. And as usual during the night, Ayumi goes outside to watch the stars before sleeping and tells her brother that she managed to spot a comet. On the following day, Ayumi wakes up and prepares rice omelette for her brother. So Yu tells her you don't have to make lunch for me anymore. Most students eat from the cafeteria. But she tells him I already prepared it today, so take it with you. And in the end Yu is forced to take it with him. Afterward he heads to school, and Takajo tells him that today he's gonna let him eat curry for lunch. So he uses his ability in order to get the food early, and as usual his head starts bleeding. Then when Yu tastes it, he discovers that there's another beautiful world far away from pizza sauce, and finishes his plate quickly, and at that moment they receive a call from Tamori, because there's a new mission. So they head toward the student council room, and the same strange man enters on them again. Yu asks Takajo why is he always wet, so Takajo tells him that his ability only works while he's wet. Then the man activates his power and discovers that this time the new abilities are speaking with the dead and controlling fire. All of them get shocked at how one person could possess two abilities, and in the end Tamori tells them alright, let's go search for him. Then they arrive at the target location, which turns out to be a narrow street. So they enter and search through it, and conclude from the footprints that someone had been chasing after a girl, until one of the women in the street tells them that somebody was chasing a star named Yusa. At that moment Yu realizes that she's the same singer his sister Ayumi is a huge fan of, and on top of that Takajo gets incredibly excited because he turns out to be one of her fans too. So they continue searching for her until they find a strange man who suddenly punches Tamori and starts running away. Then Yu and Takajo chase after him, and Yu activates his ability and controls him, stopping him from moving, while Takajo attacks him with his incredible speed and slams him into the wall. Afterward they walk over to him, and Tamori threatens him that she won't call an ambulance for him unless he confesses who he is. So he admits that one of the television channels ordered him to chase Yusa. And after the ambulance arrives and takes him away, another person appears and tells them I saw what you did to that man. What do you want from Yusa? So Tamori tells him we came here to protect her. Then she tells him that they possess special abilities just like her, and demonstrates the invisibility ability for him. So the man trusts them and tells them to follow him. Then he takes them toward their singing club, and they find Yusa sitting there. Takajo can't control himself from how excited he is, while the rest of the band asks who are these people. So their friend tells them these people have abilities just like Misa. Then Tamori gets confused and asks him is her name Misa or Yusa. So he tells her they're two different people, not one person. Then Tamori goes to talk with Misa, and she appears to have a very kind and gentle personality. So Tamori asks her do you sometimes transform into another personality? Then it becomes clear that Yusa knows absolutely nothing and believes she suffers from split personality disorder. So Tamori tells her no, you're not suffering from any illness. Afterward Tamori goes to her friends in the band and explains to them that Yusa possesses a supernatural ability that lets her summon a dead person into her body. And obviously that dead person is the personality named Misa. So her friends tell her that Misa is Yusa's older sister who died in an accident before. And at that exact moment Yusa transforms into Misa and immediately punches one of the band members, revealing that she has an extremely violent personality unlike her sister Yusa. And not only that, she also uses her second ability and sets the entire place on fire. Then we discover that Yusa isn't summoning Misa at all, but rather Misa is the one taking over her body, and Yu realizes that this is another defective ability too. Then Tamori tells them that Yusa possesses the spirit transfer ability, while her older sister possesses the fire ability. Afterward she asks them who exactly was chasing Yusa. Then one of the band members pulls out a phone and tells her because of this phone, Yusa accidentally took one of the producer's phones by mistake. And we discovered that it contains suspicious deal messages that could send him to prison. So Tamori tells them that they can't report it to the police, because Yusa would get fired from the television station for betraying the producer. Then the aggressive Misa tells them I'll just go burn the entire station down. So Tamori tells her stop acting stupid. I already have a plan that'll solve the whole problem if we cooperate together. Then all of them agree to carry out her plan. And at that moment Yusa returns back to normal while having no idea what happened, so Tamori tells her don't worry about it. Then they set out to execute the plan, and Yusa goes to meet the producer and his gang while carrying the stolen phone with her. Then suddenly she transforms into Misa and burns two members of the gang, while the producer stands there shocked unable to believe that this is the gentle Yusa. Afterward Yu controls a person and makes him injure himself, but unfortunately Yu is the one who feels the pain. Then only one person remains, and Takajo attacks him with his incredible speed. And just like that only the producer remains all alone, standing there terrified while apologizing nonstop and begging her to forgive him. But here comes Tamori's turn as she activates her invisibility ability and punches the producer, knocking him onto the ground. Then Misa walks over to him, throws the phone at him, and threatens him that she forgave him this time, but next time she'll finish him off. So the producer grabs his phone and runs away. And just like that, their plan succeeds, and Misa thanks them for helping her return the phone without destroying Yusa's future. But Tamori tells her there's still one important thing left. You have to join our school and help us so we can protect your sister from the scientists. And even though the band refuses at first, Misa agrees in order to protect her little sister. At the end of the day, Yu returns home, and his sister scolds him as usual for being late, because they're supposed to eat dinner together. So he asks her what's for dinner. Then she tells him pasta with pizza sauce, and our guy stares at the jar while feeling nauseous. After dinner they watch a video of Yusa on television, and Ayumi becomes unbelievably excited the moment she sees her. Then Yu tells her that Yusa is coming to their school tomorrow. So she starts begging him so she can see her, and from how excited she gets her nose starts bleeding, while her brother can't understand all this excitement at all. And on the following day Yu wakes up so he can head to school, while his sister places breakfast on the table, and the moment he sees the red sauce he feels like he's about to throw up. He keeps staring at the sauce jar while feeling suffocated, and the instant he takes one bite his face changes colors, and he feels like he's going to puke everything inside his stomach out. But he forces himself to keep eating, stuffing the food into his mouth while drinking water, and wishing he could finally get rid of that sauce jar. At school, all the students are talking about how Yusa is coming, and Takajo, being her biggest fan, is unbelievably excited. Meanwhile, Yu has no idea why everyone cares this much, until Yusa walks in and introduces herself, causing the entire class to explode with excitement. But afterward the teacher quiets them down and Yusa goes to sit beside Tamori. And even after the class ends, all the students gather around Yusa and create a huge amount of noise, until Tamori comes over and takes her so they can head toward the student council room. Then the four of them gather together, and the same strange man enters on them again, informing them that this time the ability is telekinesis. Then Tamori looks at the location and realizes that it's the baseball academy grounds, and that there's a pitcher who was written about in a magazine, because he's extremely skilled with his throws. Then she also shows them a clip of him using his ability to move the ball and change its direction however he wants. Afterward they head toward the baseball team's field, and Tamori talks with the player who possesses the special ability, then directly asks him, "You're using telekinesis to throw the balls, aren't you?" So he pretends to be clueless and tells her, "I have no idea what you're talking about." Then Tamori tells him, first of all, this ability will disappear once you grow older, and second, you're drawing too much attention to yourself. And if people discover that you have this ability, then you'll never play baseball again, because they'll dissect you. So he tells her, "Do you seriously think I'm going to believe all that nonsense?" Then Tamori disappears in front of him, so she can prove that she also has an ability. Afterward she tells him, "I have an idea, we'll hold a challenge between us and your team. If we defeat you, then you'll follow our demands, but if your team wins, then you're free to do whatever you want." So they agree on the match date, and the ability user accepts. Then the day of the competition arrives, and the two teams stand facing each other while preparing for the confrontation. Then each team heads to their own side and agrees on the strategy. And the match begins, while the student uses his ability to move the balls however he wants and scores points. Even Tamori's team also uses their abilities in order to win, and the score remains tied between the two teams, until the final ball arrives and Tamori's team wins the match. Afterward Tamori tells the student, "Since we were the ones who won, then please stop using your ability completely." At that moment the student agrees, leaves them behind and returns to his team. And during the night Yu returns home while praying that dinner won't contain pizza sauce. But unfortunately the food turns out to be vegetables covered in red sauce. So he immediately recognizes that cursed sauce, and tells her, "Why don't you try putting white cream on it for once?" Then she tells him, "No, pizza sauce is our family's secret recipe," and poor guy has completely lost all hope by now. And we see Yusa at school while all the students are gathered around her causing chaos everywhere. And Yu just wishes this whole situation would end already, until suddenly several girls enter the classroom, and walk toward Tamori before dragging her outside. Yu has no idea what they want from her, so he follows behind them and discovers that they gathered around her and started beating her up. Then Yu realizes that her invisibility ability is definitely the reason, just like when she beat him before, and that they're taking revenge for their friends. So after they leave, he walks over to her, while she's sitting on the ground and checks if she's okay. But she tells him, "Why would it matter to you when you were only standing there watching?" And Yu can't even respond. Afterward they head toward the student council room, and the strange assistant walks in, and tells them that the target person's ability is flying. Then Tamori shows them a newspaper article saying that a flying human was spotted, and tells them that this person is definitely practicing flying in the mountain area shown in the picture. And because of that they're going to camp there, so they can observe the situation until he appears. Then they head toward the market so they can buy enough food for the time they'll spend camping there. Afterward they arrive at the camping location and begin setting up the tents and preparing the place. Then Yu calls his sister and informs her that he won't be able to return home during the next few days because he's attending a student council camp. Then they start lighting the fire using Mrs. ability and begin roasting corn. Yu is confused because all that smoke is obviously going to reveal their location, but Tamori believes that the smoke will make the target come over to chase them away so he can continue practicing. Then night arrives while they're still sitting there, and Yu notices that Tamori is sitting alone listening to a song by a band called Jind. Then she tells him that this is the band her brother loves listening to, so he tries listening to it himself and ends up liking it. Then she tells him that the singer is blind and despite that he's incredibly talented. Then she gives him the music player as a gift and tells him that she'll buy herself a new one. And on the following day they go fishing, while Tamori feels that the target person is watching them, but she continues fishing until the perfect moment arrives. Afterward they go roast the fish and eat lunch together. And during the night they all sit together while Tamori tells them that they're not leaving until he finally appears. So Yu tells her that he has a little sister and needs to return home as soon as possible. But she tells him that they have to finish the mission first. And don't worry, I think the mission will end tomorrow. And on the following day they sit together roasting corn. And at that moment the target person finally arrives and asks them, what exactly are you people doing here? So Tamori tells him, we ran away from our homes and came here to live forever. Then the guy grabs his phone so he can call the police. But she tells him if you call the police, they'll arrest you too. Weren't you also the one flying in this picture? So he tells her, what exactly do you mean? I have no idea what you're talking about. Then she tells him, stop pretending to be ignorant. You come here every day to practice flying, and when you realized that we were staying too long, you lost your patience and came here to chase us away so you could continue practicing flying again. Then the guy completely loses his temper and charges at them, but falls into a deep pit that Tamori prepared as a trap so he would fly out of it, and she could photograph him with her camera. At that moment the guy becomes extremely furious and tries to forcefully steal the camera from her, and he actually manages to snatch the camera and fly away. Then Yu quickly uses his ability and makes him fall onto the ground. Afterward Tamori walks over to him and explains that they also possess special abilities just like him, and that if he continues doing what he's doing, he'll attract attention to himself, and the scientists will capture him and experiment on him. So he understands that he isn't the only one with a special ability, and becomes convinced by Tamori's words, then promises her that he'll never use his ability again. And during the night Yu returns home while his sister is upset because he has been gone for several days. Then when he sees dinner and discovers that the dish is white, he becomes unbelievably happy as if he hasn't eaten in years. Then his sister tells him, I wanted to add pizza sauce to it, but the jar was almost empty. So Yu immediately tells her, no, that's completely fine. Please just forget that jar forever. Then his sister gets upset and tells him that sauce is the secret ingredient of their family. So he tells her, but your cooking tastes way better without that sauce. His sister becomes happy from hearing those words, but afterwards she suddenly starts coughing, making him realize that she caught a cold. So he carries her to bed and makes her rest so she can recover. And on the following day her fever becomes even worse. So Yu tells her, you absolutely need to rest today. I'll call the school and let them know that you'll be absent. Meanwhile Yu heads to his school as usual and is sitting inside the student council room, when the strange man walks in and informs them that this time the ability is destruction. Then when they look at the map, they become shocked because the location is the dormitory connected to the school, and that means there's a student absent because they're sick, for example, and staying in the dorms, and that person is the one possessing this ability. At that moment Yu becomes terrified, thinking that maybe his sister is that person. Then Tamori notices the terrified expression on his face and asks him what's wrong. So he tells her that his little sister caught a cold and is staying home. Then she tells him that there's actually a very high possibility because siblings often possess abilities too, just like Tamori's brother. So they tell him, then let's go check on her and make sure. But Yu doesn't want that entire group going to his house. And when he remembers that Ayumi is a massive fan of Yusa, he decides to take only her and Tamori. As for Takajo, the #1 Yusa fan, Yu absolutely doesn't want him there. So Tamori throws him out the window and tells them, alright, we got rid of him. He's already used to these kinds of falls. Afterward the three of them head out to visit Ayumi and stop by a supermarket so they can buy dinner, but Yu turns out to be completely broke, so Tamori ends up paying instead. Then they arrive at the house and Yu tells Yusa that his sister is one of her biggest fans, and because of that he doesn't want her to get overly excited so her nose won't start bleeding. So Yusa tells him, don't worry, I'll wear a mask so I can introduce myself to her gradually. Then he enters first, only to discover that there are already guests inside the house. And when he walks into her room, he finds out that her school friends came to visit her. Then they introduce themselves, the blue-haired girl being the class representative, another boy who's Ayumi's classmate, and the final girl who appears shy and depressed. Then the class representative tells him to take good care of Ayumi, and they begin preparing to leave. But while the shy girl is leaving, she gives you a look filled with hatred and resentment before suddenly running out of the house. At that moment Tamori enters and greets Ayumi, then afterward the disguised Yusa enters too. But Ayumi immediately recognizes that it's Yusa and explodes from excitement, causing a waterfall of blood to burst from her nose. So Tamori immediately stops the bleeding, and after she calms down, Yusa and Tamori present their gifts to her. Afterward they all go eat dinner together and enjoy the food a lot, but then Yusa receives an important phone call, so she excuses herself and leaves. Meanwhile Yu and Tamori stay behind washing the dishes together. After that, Yu gives Ayumi her medicine so she can sleep, but she tells him I'm scared to sleep because I had a terrifying dream today. Then Tamori asks her what did you dream about, but Yu tells her to be quiet so she doesn't scare her. Then Tamori apologizes and excuses herself so she can leave, while Yu walks out with her so he can escort her home. Then Tamori tells him try asking her more about that dream. Maybe it's connected to the destruction ability. Yu gets angry and tells her maybe Ayumi isn't the owner of this ability at all. We still don't have any proof. Then Tamori tells him it's true that we don't have proof, but there's a very high possibility she possesses this ability because you're siblings. And before she leaves, she tells him make sure she skips school tomorrow, even if you find her feeling better, because we have no idea what could happen if she truly is the owner of that dangerous ability. Then Yu returns to his sister, checks on her, and asks her what exactly did you dream about. So she tells him I don't remember clearly, but I dreamed that something was being destroyed and the ground was cracking apart. Yu becomes terrified the moment he hears those words. Then on the following day he heads toward the student council room again, and they all begin thinking about her strange dream. Then Tamori tells them regardless of the dream, we have to place surveillance cameras around her school and warn the teachers to keep an eye on her. Then she tells Yu not to let his sister go to school tomorrow, and when Yu returns home that night and checks on his sister, he discovers that her fever has dropped and she's feeling much better. So he informs her that she's gonna skip school tomorrow too. But she gets upset and tells him I want to go to school. So he tells her just listen to me so you can recover, tomorrow you're staying home. And on the following day, we see Ayumi wearing her school uniform while secretly sneaking out of the house without letting the guard notice her, before jumping out the window. Meanwhile Yu was at his school, sitting inside the student council room, while Tamori gets angry at them because they're being careless. Then Yu asks her what happened. So Tamori tells him your sister went to school. Yu immediately gets shocked, and Tamori tells him I have a bad feeling about this situation, let's go check on her. On the other side Ayumi was at her school, and the classmate who visited her earlier wanted to invite her to lunch to celebrate her recovery, but she kept refusing. Then she leaves him behind and walks away until she finds the strange girl standing in her path. Then the girl tells her because of you nobody cares about me anymore, even our classmate only pays attention to you now. Ever since you came here my life has been ruined because of you. Then she suddenly pulls out a scalpel so she can kill her. Ayumi immediately tells her wait, I seriously have no idea what you're talking about. There must be some misunderstanding. But the girl keeps approaching her while holding the scalpel, and Ayumi becomes terrified of her and starts running away. She keeps running until she reaches a dead end inside an abandoned building where there's nobody around, while the terrifying girl finally gets close enough to kill her with the scalpel. Ayumi becomes absolutely horrified and has no idea what to do, when suddenly the ground starts cracking apart, blue energy bursts out from Ayumi, and the destruction ability activates. The entire building collapses, and Ayumi falls downward while the whole building caves in on top of her. And at that exact moment her brother Yu arrives, and witnesses the building collapsing right in front of him, while the criminal girl manages to escape just before it was too late. At that moment Yu stands there completely shocked by what he's seeing, unable to believe what just happened. Then he starts running through the rubble searching for her and screaming her name loudly, continuing to lift the rocks desperately so he can reach his sister. But suddenly a gigantic boulder falls on top of him, causing him to lose consciousness. And Yu wakes up inside the hospital and asks the doctor, where's Ayumi? So the doctor tells him unfortunately she died. Yu becomes completely shocked and stays frozen in disbelief, unable to accept the news. And after a while we see Ayumi's funeral, while Yu is still unable to believe that she died. Then he enters her room and stands in front of her picture, while remembering the moments when she used to be there with him inside the house. So he starts crying for her, and keeps crying while unable to believe that she's gone, before collapsing onto the ground completely broken. And Yu spends the rest of his life depressed while covering himself with a green blanket, never leaving his house at all. The only thing he does is eat ramen cups and watch television, and time keeps passing while trash piles up around him inside the room. Even when his friends knock on his door, he refuses to open for them, and just keeps sitting in front of the television covered by the blanket while eating ramen cups. And after several days his old classmate Yumi enters his room, but he doesn't even remember who she is anymore. So she tells him, "I'm the girl whose life you saved before," and tries talking with him so she can comfort him, but Yu isn't mentally present at all. Then she tells him, "You haven't gone to school for several days, and you're eating nothing except ramen. Let's go outside and take a walk for a bit." So he tells her, "I'd appreciate it if you just bought me some ramen instead, and I'll pay you back later." Then she tells him, "At this rate you're gonna develop a mental illness. You seriously need to go outside." Yu suddenly loses his temper and throws all the ramen cups at her, while screaming, "Now get out of here," then returns to his spot on the couch while Yumi leaves the place. Afterward he discovers that all his ramen cups are gone, and that he'll be forced to go outside and buy more. So he gets up and puts on his clothes. Then the moment he looks through the peephole he discovers that there are people coming to drag him out by force. So he activates his ability and controls one of them, making him punch the other guy. Then afterward he forces him to climb onto the railing and throw himself off it, before Yu leaves the house. At that moment Yu completely escapes from the city, so the soaked man won't be able to tell them where he is. Eventually he arrives at another city, where he finds a sign for an internet cafe. So he rents a room there and spends his time inside it watching anime, eating, and sleeping. He keeps hiding inside that place for several days so the student council won't find him, until eventually he gets bored and decides to go outside for a walk. Then he heads out into the streets and stops in front of a woman selling sweets. So he buys some from her and eats them while walking down the road. Then he passes by an arcade and sits down playing a game where he kills monsters, becoming incredibly excited while slaughtering them. Days continue passing while he spends all his money on games and sweets, eventually transforming into someone obsessed with killing monsters. And on one of those days, he enters the arcade while already bored from killing monsters in games and wanting to try it in real life. So he throws trash at a group of guys so he can start a fight with them, and keeps provoking them until they drag him to an isolated place. Then he controls one of them and makes them beat each other up, even forcing one of them who has a knife to stab his own friend. Afterward he walks over to one of them while he's lying on the ground and stabs a fork into him, before bursting into insane laughter. Then he leaves the place and runs into another group. So he activates his ability on them until he grabs the leader and tells him, "How about I shove this fork into your eye?" And everyone standing there becomes terrified of him, while he continues fighting every gang he comes across, while happily saying that real fighting is way more fun than video games. Eventually he ends up sitting in an abandoned place while preparing drugs so he can use them. At that exact moment Tamori appears and lands a kick on him that brings him back to his senses, and we discover that she had actually been following him the entire time while using her invisibility ability. Then she tells him, "I'm forced to stop you right here." So he asks her, "What are you even doing here?" She tells him, "I came here because I feel guilty. I feel like I'm the reason Ayumi died, because I didn't transfer her to a safe place." Then he stands up so he can fight her, but she tells him, "The path you're about to step into, you'll never be able to return from it as a normal person again." At that moment he starts calming down and asks her then, "What am I supposed to do?" So she tells him, "Come eat first." Then she takes him to the house and tells him to watch television while she prepares the food. At that moment he remembers his sister when she used to prepare dinner for him, and slowly falls asleep. Then after a while she wakes him up with a meal of rice omelette covered in pizza sauce, just like the one his sister used to make. And the moment he tastes it, he discovers that it has the exact same flavor. Then she tells him, "I found your mother's recipe book, and the only recipe that had marks on it because you loved it was this one." At that moment he remembers the meals his sister used to cook for him, then starts eating desperately while crying. And after he finishes, he tells Tamori, "I'm returning to the student council again." And on the following day, Yu wakes up early and stands in front of his sister's picture while saying goodbye to her, then heads toward school. His friends welcome him back after his long absence, and during lunchtime Takajo uses his incredible speed to bring him food after his head starts bleeding as usual. Afterward they head toward the student council room, where Tamori informs them that the soaked man won't be coming today. But then she tells them that tomorrow there's a concert for Jind, her favorite band, and she has 2 tickets, so one of them can come with her. After a long argument, Yu ends up being the one chosen to go with her. While walking on the road, he comes across a blind girl in the street, so he suspects that she might be the Jian singer Tamori told him about before. Then he introduces himself to her, and they go eat together. There, the restaurant owner reveals that she's Sala, the famous singer of the band Jian, and at that moment Yu realizes that his guess was correct. After they finish eating, Sala tells him, I can tell from your voice that you're sad, so he explains to her that his sister recently died. After a while, he asks her for a special favor and tells her that there's a girl named Tamori whose brother is a huge fan of the band Giant, and that he wants her to visit him because he's sick. So Sala agrees to visit him in hopes that he might get better. Then they arrive at the hospital where he's being kept, and the moment they enter his room, they find him in the same violent state, while tearing apart the pillow. Then Sala walks toward him and starts singing for him, causing him to calm down and stop ripping apart the pillow. Then Yu walks over to him and asks, do you remember your little sister? And for the first time ever, he starts saying her name. At that moment Yu becomes incredibly happy that her song affected him and made him slightly better. Afterward they return together, and Yu tells her that tomorrow he'll attend her concert. And after Sala leaves, Tamori calls Yu and tells him that she heard from the nurses that her brother became better, then thanks him for what he did. And on the following day we see Yu getting himself ready so he can attend the concert together with Tamori. Then he and Tamori head out together, sit in the audience seats, and the concert finally begins. Sala starts singing an incredibly energetic song, while Yu becomes deeply affected by it, and suddenly he loses consciousness, and begins remembering old memories that happened to him long ago, when he was inside one of the strange facilities together with his little sister, while listening to the exact same Jian song. At that moment there was an old scientist standing beside him, who starts talking with him for a bit before telling him, I feel sorry for you. Back then Yu was confused about why a scientist would feel bad for him, so he asks him what keeps bringing you here every day. Then the old man tells him, I come here to clear my mind for a little while. Afterward they go stand in a very long line so they can receive lunch, and Yu tells his sister, I feel like they're putting chemicals into our food in order to stimulate our abilities. Then she tells him that doesn't matter, the important thing is enjoying the taste of the curry. I really wish our older brother Shun was here with us. So he tells her it's impossible for him to be here, because his ability is unbelievably amazing, which is time travel. His sister becomes excited because it's the first time she learns about it. So he immediately silences her, so she doesn't create trouble, and explains that he's imprisoned here because of his ability. Then he and his sister go eat, and the moment he tastes the food he realizes that it actually tastes like medicine. Then he tells himself that if they ever discover his real ability, they'll capture him just like they did to his older brother. At that moment the strange man who's always soaked passes beside him, and we finally learn that his name is Kumagami. Then Yu talks with him and discovers from him that he found a student whose ability is telepathy, and that they could use him to send messages, but unfortunately that person was captured. So he gives him a paper containing the location of the telepathy user so he can go to him, then tells him, you're our only hope. If you fail, all of us will get captured. At that moment we see that the place is filled with armed security guards pointing weapons at the students so they can control them. Afterward Yu and Ayumi undergo several examinations, while Yu keeps hoping that the plan to rescue his older brother succeeds. And after the examinations finish, they hear through the speakers that everyone should return to their rooms except the students whose names were called. Then Ayumi informs him that she's one of the students who got called. So 2 security guards come and take Ayumi away. Then when Yu tries defending her, someone suddenly attacks him from behind with electricity. And when he wakes up from the blackout, he feels an earthquake shaking the place and discovers that he's trapped inside a room without any way to escape. He remains trapped there until he discovers that the old scientist he met earlier is the one who opened the door for him, while the place appears almost completely destroyed. So he asks the scientist what happened. Then the scientist tells him they forced your sister to reveal her ability, and her ability was destruction, which caused half the facility to collapse. So Yu asks him then what happened to her. The scientist replies she's alive, but right now they're holding her prisoner so they can dissect her and get rid of her. At that moment Yu becomes terrified and loses all hope, but the old man tells him this is no time to break down. You can save her right now with your ability. Your ability is the strongest ability of all, the plunder ability. So Yu prepares himself to save his sister and immediately rushes out at full speed. Then he looks at the paper he received from Kumagami so he can reach the telepathy user's location and steal the ability from him. And he actually arrives at the place where the student is imprisoned, activates his ability on him, and steals the telepathy power from him. At that moment he becomes capable of using telepathy to communicate with his older brother Shun, whom we see imprisoned in a place where he can't move at all. Then he contacts his brother and informs him that the scientists are about to dissect their sister because her ability turned out to be destruction, and tells him that he's already on his way to free him, so they can save their sister together. At that moment the place suddenly becomes dark around Yu. Poisonous gas starts filling the room, and Yu can barely breathe. Then he looks beside him and discovers a person emerging from the wall named Shichino, whose ability is passing through walls. So he tells him there's no time, quickly take my ability and go save your brother. And before the security forces arrive, Yu steals his power and becomes capable of passing through walls. Then he rushes toward his brother until he finally reaches him and manages to free him. Then he tells him, I'll leave the rest to you, save the world with your time travel ability. And at that exact moment Yu suddenly wakes up inside the hospital screaming, while Tamori beside him gets frightened by him. Then she informs him that he fainted during the concert, so he starts wondering to himself whether what he saw was only a dream or an actual reality that truly happened. Then he asks Tamori, could I really have an older brother just like Ayumi mentioned before? At that moment the soaked man Kumagami enters the room. But this time he has his hair slicked back and his facial features are visible to the point where Tamori doesn't even recognize him. Then he lowers his hair back down and tells them my ability is discovering other people's abilities. So they realize that he's actually the strange man who always visited the student council. Then Yu asks him, you definitely know about my older brother, right? So Kumagami replies yes, and I actually came here to take you to him so afterward you can save your sister. Yu can't believe it and tells him, how can I save someone who's already dead? Then Kumagami replies, didn't you learn about your brother Shun's ability? At that moment Tamori becomes shocked that Shun is actually Yu's brother because Shun once helped her greatly. Then Kumagami tells them to follow him so he can take them to Shun's location. Then he takes them to a distant place deep inside the forest, enters a secret passage hidden within the mountain, and tells them this is our secret hideout. Then he keeps walking with them until they arrive at a room where Shun is staying. And the moment Tamori sees him she greets him and thanks him for helping her after her brother became ill. Afterward he starts speaking with his younger brother Yu, and tells him I know you probably won't believe me, but I'm your older brother. Aren't you even going to greet me? Then Yu tells him there are countless questions inside my head that I need answers for. So Shun replies, don't worry, I'll answer every single one of your questions. Then he begins telling him what happened after he traveled back in time to save the world, and we discover that Shun went 3 years into the past, where at that time he was sitting together with his siblings Yu and Ayumi, while eating with them. Afterward he met his dear friend Kumagami, and the two of them became best friends. But when he met him in the past, Kumagami still didn't know him yet. So Shun explained to him that he came from the future in order to save ability users from the tragedy that would happen to them later on. During that time Kumagami created a small group of ability users, and at first there were 3 members besides Shun and Kumagami. The first was Shichino, the owner of the wall-passing ability, the second was Maduki whose ability was hypnosis, and the last was Maidamori whose ability was memory erasure. Then Shun tells them that he came from the future to save the world, and starts explaining that he came from the future to save them from the scientists, and that their goal is gathering every ability user and protecting them. As time passed, their group slowly became larger, but in the end they were still just a group of kids, and the scientists captured them many times while they still had no idea how to properly carry out their plan. And during one of those times, Shun was sitting celebrating his birthday with his siblings when he saw a lottery advertisement on television announcing that the winner would receive 6 million yen. At that moment the perfect idea he needed in order to carry out his plan suddenly comes into his mind. So he returns to his group and tells them that he's going to travel through time several times so he can collect lottery information and win it. And that way they'll gain the funding necessary to create a special school where they can gather all ability users together. And he actually begins traveling through time repeatedly. And every single time he returned he noticed that his eyesight was becoming weaker than before because of the repeated use of his ability. Despite that, he never gave up, wore glasses, and continued trying over and over again until he finally managed to gather enough money. Then he talks with his friend Kumagami and informs him that he's going to travel through time one final time, in order to gather every ability user and build a school where he can protect them until adolescence ends and their abilities disappear. And with his final jump through time, Shun completely lost his eyesight and became blind, but this time he succeeded in buying a school and gathering every ability user inside it. Then he became the school principal, and at that moment he asks Kumagami for 2 favors. The first is erasing his existence from the memories of Yu and Ayumi so he can move freely, and the second is building many schools across Japan so they can gather every ability user. So Kumagami tells him, but if I do that my face will become recognizable. Then Shun tells him your hair is long enough for you to cover your face with it. Kumagami likes the idea and adds to it by pouring water over his head, and the two of them continue laughing together. Afterward Shun returns to his house together with his friends, then makes Madoki hypnotize Ayumi before afterward hypnotizing Yu too. Then Maidamori's turn comes, and she erases Shun from both of their memories. After she finishes, he kisses both of them on the forehead and promises them that the future will become better. And just like that, Shun tells them everything that happened long ago, and how he managed to change the future now. Meanwhile, Yu and Tamori can't believe that all of this truly happened. And at that moment Yu realizes that the reason he couldn't recognize his brother was because of the erased memories. Then Shun tells him, but there's still one final thing I haven't accomplished yet, which is saving Ayumi. Yu becomes shocked and asks him how are we supposed to save her. So Shun tells him by using your ability, which is plunder. You'll take my ability and jump through time in order to save her. At that moment Yu remembers that he saw this ability in the dream. Then Shun tells him your real ability is stealing the abilities of other people. Then Tamori tells him Takajo and I already knew that. When Kumagami entered the room, he informed us that your ability is stealing other people's powers. And when we investigated you, we discovered that you were abusing your ability while not even understanding how to use it correctly. Every person you controlled, you stole their ability from them, and that person lost their ability forever. So Yu becomes furious at her because he never knew that. Then she tells him if we had informed you, you would have abused your ability even more, attracted attention to yourself, and placed yourself in danger. At that moment his brother Shun tells him now take my ability and travel back to the day Ayumi's ability first appeared, then steal her ability and save her. And Yu actually activates his ability on Shun, steals his power, and uses it to travel back through time. Then Yu returns to the day when his sister was sick with a fever and Kumagami informed them that someone possessed the destruction ability. Then he and Tamori went to the house and found Ayumi's friends leaving, while the hateful girl was there too. At that moment he realizes that she was the reason behind what happened to his sister. Then afterward he sits with Tamori and explains to her that he came from the future in order to save his sister. Afterward he returns to his sister while she's sleeping in bed, activates his ability on her, and steals her power. And just like that he succeeds in completing the first half of the plan, leaving only the second half in order to save her from the hateful girl. Then the following day arrives, and he heads together with his friends toward Ayumi's school. There he hides inside one of the lockers, and we see the hateful girl screaming at Ayumi while pulling out the scalpel. Ayumi starts running away from her while the girl chases after her, until Ayumi reaches the dead end. At that moment Yu jumps out from the locker beside her, frightens the hateful girl, and screams at her, causing her to panic and run away. Then the two of them walk away together, while Yu can't believe that he finally managed to save his sister. And on the way he runs into Kumagami, who asks him to come with him so they can meet Shun together. Then he and his sister head out so they can meet their brother, while Ayumi still doesn't realize that this is actually her older brother. Then Yu introduces him to her, and also informs his brother Shun that he now exists in this timeline after traveling through time using his ability and saving Ayumi. So his brother praises him for succeeding and tells him you're now the strongest ability user, and on top of that you possess my time leap ability too. That makes you extremely dangerous because many terrorist organizations will try to exploit you, and because of that I can't allow you to live your life like before anymore. You'll continue living here until your ability disappears. At that moment Yu becomes shocked. Then Shun explains to him that this is a secret research facility he personally created so it could become the safest place in Japan. Then he takes them on a tour and shows them the scientists working inside the facility, including the old man who once saved Yu back in the past. Then the old scientist explains to him that here they're trying to create a vaccine to prevent the spread of the ability disease in the future. Yu becomes confused by the word disease, so the old man tells him that these supernatural abilities are actually a disease. The story began when a comet named Charlotte dropped particles onto Earth, and the people who inhaled those particles were the ones infected with the disease. The particles reached the brain and activated dormant areas, which caused the supernatural abilities to appear. And so that this disease won't repeat again in the future, they're trying to create a vaccine. Yu feels relieved because they're safe now, but Shun tells him no, only Japan is safe. Outside Japan there are many students who developed supernatural abilities and gathered together in order to destroy the world, and nobody knows what they might do. Afterwards Shun takes them and introduces them to the four friends, who helped him create a system for protecting ability users, because the two of them will be staying here during the coming period, and these are the only people they'll be spending time with. Then they go play together for a bit, while Yu loses because he's the worst one at the game, until suddenly Kumagami stands up and tells them I found someone with a special ability. So Yu tells him that means you're heading to the student council. Take me with you. But they refuse and tell him you're not allowed to leave this place. Then Kumagami heads out until he reaches the car that's supposed to transport him. The driver begins driving him away, but suddenly takes a different route. So Kumagami asks him why are you driving this way? The driver becomes nervous and tells him I'm sorry, but I have to take you somewhere else. My family is being threatened and I have to save them. Kumagami becomes shocked because the driver lied to them. since one of the conditions for working with them is that the person must not have a family. But in the end he forgives him and is forced to go along with him. Then they continue driving until they arrive at an abandoned factory, and the driver calls out to them saying Kumagami is here with me. At that moment a group of foreign ability users from another country appears. Then the driver tells them I fulfilled my promise, now give me back my family. But the leader tells him there's still one more thing you're going to do for us, we'll contact you later. Then Kumagami tells the driver it's alright, leave now so you can protect your family. Afterward the leader talks to a huge man and tells him attack him without killing him. Then the giant man walks toward Kumagami and attacks him until he loses consciousness. And when Kumagami wakes up, he discovers that he's tied to a chair with syringes beside him. Then the leader tells him we want you to tell us all the information about the ability users in Japan. But Kumagami refuses to speak, so the giant man punches him and breaks his teeth. Then another person approaches and injects him with a strange substance that makes him scream horribly. After a while Kumagami regains consciousness and finds himself covered in blood, realizing that he most likely revealed the truth to them while unconscious. Then he keeps coughing blood while feeling miserable because he betrayed Shun. And during the night we see that terrorist gang invading the school dormitory and entering Tomori's room while she's asleep. Then the giant man strikes her with a powerful blow that causes her to lose consciousness. Afterward they call Shun and tell him we discovered that you're the one responsible for the ability users in Japan, and your friend Kumagami is currently with us without any teeth but still alive. So Shun becomes terrified for his friend and asks him what exactly do you want. Then the terrorist replies I want you. Shun becomes furious after hearing that, so the terrorist tells him by the way, we also kidnapped Tomori. All you have to do is hand you over to us, and in exchange we'll return Tomori and Kumagami to you. So Shun asks him where are you? Then the terrorist replies your driver will come pick him up. And listen carefully, you must come alone. I heard about you and learned about your ability. If anything suspicious happens in this plan, then I'll assume that you traveled through time to change the future, and at that moment I'll kill your driver's family. Then the call ends while Shun is completely devastated and unable to figure out what to do. At that moment he receives a call from the driver, who apologizes to him because they threatened his family. So Shun asks him, since when have they been threatening you? Then the driver tells him ever since before our academy was even built, before bursting into tears. Then Shun tells him don't worry, I'll try to save your family. Afterward Shun sits together with his team and tells them everything that happened. So they tell him then why don't you make you travel back in time to before the driver was threatened. But Shun tells them since they threatened him before the academy was even created, then I can't guarantee whether we'll still follow the same path we're on right now or not. All of them become shocked because that means if he goes back, the entire organization might never even exist. But then Shichino suddenly comes up with an idea and tells them don't they want you? Then let him go to them because he's actually the only one capable of stealing their abilities. And even if he fails, he can still travel back in time to the exact point we're at right now so we can plan again. Shun likes the idea and tells him first we need to hear Yu's opinion. On the other side, Kumagami was still imprisoned while Tomori was tied up beside him unconscious. Then we return once again to Shun after he explains everything to Yu and tells him I trust you and I know you'll be able to defeat them. You'll go there and steal their abilities. But Yu becomes scared that they might kill him. So Shun tells him don't be afraid, the enemy actually wants you, which means they don't want to kill you. But if they capture you or hurt Tomori or Kumagami, then travel back in time to the exact point we're in right now and we'll plan again. And don't forget that you also possess the destruction ability too, so don't get overly emotional, or you'll place your own life in danger. At that moment Yu keeps trembling without knowing what to do, then suddenly starts yelling and says I can't do what you're asking me to do. I'm nothing but a failure who used to cheat on exams. Why did my life turn into this mess? At that moment the destruction ability activates and almost destroys the entire place. But his brother hugs him and asks him to calm down. And in the very last moment he manages to save the building. Afterward Shun tells him don't pressure yourself at all. If you feel any problem then just return to this exact point in time. That's the only thing you need to remember. Then Yu starts remembering all his memories with Tomori and how she once saved him when he was on the verge of losing himself. So he decides that he absolutely has to save her. Then he walks toward his brother and tells him I agree. So his brother tells him we'll also follow behind you so we can make sure you're safe. Then Yu leaves the place and heads toward the driver, who takes him to the abandoned factory. The driver tells them I brought him here, now release my family. But there are only two older men standing there, so Yu realizes that they aren't ability users. Then the leader throws the driver a key to the place where his family is imprisoned. So the driver grabs the key, apologizes to Yu, and runs away from the place. At that moment Yu controls both of them one after another and discovers that they aren't armed. Then they tell him, "Are you happy now?" So he asks them, "Where's Tamori?" They tell him she's imprisoned directly beneath you in the underground floor. And at that exact moment one of the ability users suddenly attacks Yu while he isn't paying attention and slices his right eye. Yu immediately starts screaming in pain, then tries using the time travel ability but fails. Then the leader standing above him tells him, "We made you unable to travel through time because now you only have one eye left, and you need both of your eyes in order to use that ability." Yu becomes unbelievably furious and starts using the destruction ability, but they tell him if you use that ability, your friends downstairs will die too. So Yu calms down and starts using another ability against them, but suddenly the ability user jumps on him and stabs him with a knife. Yu keeps screaming while unable to react, until finally the destruction ability activates and the entire place begins collapsing. Meanwhile Shun and his friends were outside, and the moment they saw the place being destroyed they became confused about why Yu didn't use the time travel ability. Then they remain standing there helplessly while the entire building collapses. Afterward they head toward the destroyed place and descend beneath the rubble searching for them. Then they find the two gang members still alive, and also discover Yu beside the person who stabbed him. Then they realize that Yu is still alive too, but one of his eyes is completely destroyed, so they understand that this is the reason why he couldn't travel back through time. Then Shichino carries him and pulls him out from beneath the rubble, while they continue searching for Tamori and Kumagami. Eventually they discover that Kumagami sacrificed himself in order to protect Tamori, and all the rubble pierced through Kumagami's body. Then Shun keeps screaming desperately trying to save his friend drowning in his own blood. But unfortunately Kumagami breathes his final breath and dies in Shun's arms, while Shun remains unable to believe that his friend is truly dead. And we see Yu inside the hospital, waking up terrified from sleep while remembering the person who destroyed his eye and stabbed him with the knife. Then he screams extremely loudly while tied to the bed, and the destruction ability activates and almost destroys the hospital, until Shichino gives him a calming injection and he slowly begins calming down. Then Miduki and Matamori enter the room and reassure him that he's alright. Yu remembers Tamori and asks them how she's doing, so they tell him she's fine and staying here inside the hospital. Then he asks them, "And how is Kumagami doing?" But nobody responds. Yu becomes horrified when he realizes that he died. At that moment Shichino screams at him and tells him of course he died because of your failure, you only saved yourself and that's it. Then, Midoki stops him and tells him, "But this was your plan from the beginning anyway." Meanwhile Yu remains lying on the bed shocked by what he just heard, unable to believe that he died. Then afterward he tells them it's my fault. But Miduki tells him don't blame yourself, we made Matamori erase the terrorist gang's memories. And before they leave, Yu asks them why isn't my brother Shun here? Then Shichino becomes extremely angry and wants to punch him while yelling, "Don't you realize that you're the reason?" Kumagami was Shun's closest friend. Afterward Ayumi comes to visit her brother Yu, and she's sad that his right eye can no longer see. So he tells her it's good enough that I'm still alive. Then he asks her what's happening inside the organization. So she tells him everything is fine, but Shun is doing terribly. Yu becomes very upset after hearing that and remembers the stage he went through when he lost his sister Ayumi. After some time Yu gets better, and Takajo comes to visit him while bringing him a delicious feast just like the meals they used to eat at school. Yu loves the taste very much, and after eating he asks him about Tamori. So Takajo tells him she's doing very well and they'll release her soon. After a while Yusa arrives too while bringing him soup, and Yu advises her to visit her family as soon as possible. Then afterward we see him walking with a cane while heading to visit Tamori, but the moment he reaches the door he hesitates and returns back to his room. Then when he turns on the television he finds Yusa appearing in a live broadcast while visiting her family who work in a restaurant, and Yu becomes really happy for her. And on the following day Ayumi visits him while bringing him rice omelette with pizza sauce as a gift for his 16th birthday. Even though it reminds him of painful memories, he still thanks his sister and eats it happily. Afterward he goes to visit his brother, who had been isolating himself ever since Kumagami died, and tries talking with him, but he discovers that Shun completely lost hope just like what happened to him after losing Ayumi. Then he hears him saying the terrorists will definitely return and invade Japan again, and I have no idea what I'm supposed to do after Kumagami's death. So Yu leaves him and returns to his room, where he finds Tamori sitting there and becomes surprised by her presence. Then he tells her that Shun said the terrorists will return again, and tells her I'm sure they'll come after me. I'm scared of causing someone else's death. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Then Tamori tells him there's one way, so he tells her quickly tell me. You can steal every ability existing on Earth, and at that moment the abilities will disappear forever. But there's one problem. We don't know what could happen to you after stealing thousands of abilities. You might transform into a monster seeking humanity's destruction, or lose control over yourself and start committing insane acts. Even so, this is the only way to save the world, and you're the only person capable of doing it. Then she starts leaving and tells him, I'll leave you to think about this. But Yu stops her and says, I decided that I'll carry out your plan. So she tells him, but that's dangerous. Then he tells her, I'm serious about this. At that moment she tells him, then I'll wait for you until you return after saving the world, and tells him, come on, start with me and take my ability. So he asks her, are you sure? Then she replies, yes, I personally want to become a normal person again. So he activates his ability on her and steals her invisibility power, while Tamori thanks him at that moment. And during the night he goes to his brother Shun and tells him, I want you to listen to me. I'm going to travel around the entire world and steal every ability. But Shun tells him that's impossible. Then Yu tells him, don't worry, I can handle it. But suddenly Shun starts crying over his friend who died before he even got the chance to thank him. So Yu tells him, and so that his sacrifice won't go to waste, I have to carry out what I told you about. Then Shun asks him, are you seriously saying this? So Yu tells him, yes, I already even took Tamori's ability and I'm not backing down. And on the following day they all gather together inside his room, while his brother Shun finally starts interacting with them again, then agrees with Yu about carrying out the plan, while Yu promises him that he'll be worthy of the responsibility. Afterward Yu leaves the hospital and finds Takajo and Misa standing in front of him, and they tell him, Tamori informed us about everything, and we came so you can take our abilities. Then Yu tells Misa, are you sure about this decision? If I take Yusa's ability, you'll disappear. So she tells him, I know and I'm ready for that. Then Misa says goodbye to them for the final time, while Yu steals their abilities and Yusa returns to being a normal human. Then Takajo gives her a farewell letter from her sister, and Yusa keeps crying while reading the letter. Then Takajo says goodbye to Yu for the final time before he leaves on his journey, and tells him we'll be waiting for you and waiting for your return. Meanwhile Yu prepares his belongings so he can travel, then leaves the house. At that moment he finds Tamori standing in front of him while handing him a small notebook containing several foreign phrases he'll need in order to communicate with foreigners. Then she jokes with him and says, I know your academic level, so I figured I had to help you. But Yu tells her, you're right, after all I'm the greatest cheater in history. Afterward he pulls out the music player he received from her and tells her, I'd appreciate it if you kept this for me and protected it. Then he says goodbye to her for the final time before setting off on his journey around the world. And Yu travels by airplane until he arrives at Kuala Lumpur Airport, and there at the airport the officer asks him why he came here. So he opens Tamori's notebook and tells him that he came for tourism. Then the officer allows him to enter, and the very first thing he does is search for someone possessing an ability useful for tracking. So he enters the body of a young man who has the ability to read minds and steals it from him, then learns from his thoughts that there's someone named Angelo who possesses the ability to track ability users. Then he leaves the body and goes searching for Angelo before stealing his ability too. Then he learns that the ability works whenever he looks at a map, and after leaving him and looking at any map, he starts seeing ability users moving around. At that moment he begins tracking them one after another and stealing their abilities, eventually arriving in South Africa and stealing the abilities of the students there. Afterward he heads to Egypt, where news starts spreading about a one-eyed young man harvesting souls. Then during the night he talks with his brother and tells him about all the abilities he stole, while promising his brother that he'll soon succeed in the mission. Afterward he heads to Afghanistan and steals the abilities there, then from there to India. There he gets attacked heavily with weapons, but he activates one of the abilities he stole, and creates a shield that protects him while eliminating the soldiers. But at that moment he starts feeling exhausted. Afterward he heads to Peru, where he finds a girl possessing the ability to cure diseases. Even though this ability could benefit humanity, he's still forced to take it in order to eliminate the disease, and he actually steals the healing ability before leaving. At that moment he stands in front of a mirror and tells himself, maybe I could use this ability now to heal my eye, and then I'd be able to travel back in time and save Kumagami. But suddenly he smashes the mirror and tells himself, I didn't steal these abilities in order to fulfill my personal goals. My goal is saving the world from the ability disease. Then he leaves the place and walks away. Afterward he heads to Cuba, and thereafter controlling many abilities, he begins feeling intense exhaustion to the point where he accidentally activates the destruction ability and destroys one of the houses. Then, when he rises from beneath the rubble, he begins losing control over himself and attacking people, but still tries to hold himself together and calm down. Afterward he arrives in Saudi Arabia, and we see him sitting inside a house while looking completely exhausted and swallowing pills nonstop before falling asleep. Then he wakes up the following day and hears news reports about a terrorist who caused riots, so he realizes that he completely lost control over himself while sleeping. At that moment he decides that he'll never sleep again after this. Afterward he heads to Italy, where he gets attacked by several people while barely aware of his surroundings. But the abilities he stole protect him, and with a single movement, he eliminates all of them. Then when he looks down at the ground, he finds Tamori's notebook. So he slowly starts regaining his awareness again and remembers his promise to Tamori that he would return. But even then his memories remain distorted. Afterward he continues traveling across European countries one after another, then afterward Russia, France, and United Kingdom, while his appearance slowly becomes incredibly sickly. And whenever people see him they become terrified of him and call him the one-eyed Grim Reaper. Then afterward he arrives in New York City and enters a meeting while telling them I am the Grim Reaper. Then he steals their abilities, destroys the entire place, and throws himself forward while laughing insanely. Then afterward we see him in Arizona after transforming into a criminal who attacks people without even being aware of himself while mumbling random nonsense as he walks through the desert, until eventually he collapses in the middle of the road. Then afterward he stands back up laughing and says I'll control the world. At that moment Tamori's notebook falls from him, so he kicks it away with his foot. But suddenly he runs back to grab it again while crying uncontrollably, unable to remember who he is or what he's doing, but still feeling that this object is something precious to him. Then he sits there crying his heart out. Afterward he continues his journey to Siberia, then Cambodia and Turkey, while no weapons are capable of affecting him anymore. Then afterward Australia, then China, until he finally reaches the last ability user remaining in the entire world. But at that moment he's suffering from horrible exhaustion while walking with a cane. Then suddenly someone appears from behind and shoots him with an arrow that hits him, causing you to collapse onto the ground. Then the man runs toward him happily because he managed to capture the Grim Reaper. But suddenly a girl appears and defends you while telling the man don't attack weak people. So he tells her what weak person are you talking about, there's a massive bounty on his head. But the girl still insists on protecting him bravely. At that moment you stands up and tells the girl, who would have thought that the final ability would be courage. Then he steals her ability and tells her you need to run away quickly. The girl becomes frightened and runs back home. At that moment you tells himself now, I fulfilled the promise, I have to return. Then he tries walking with extreme difficulty, but the man standing there shoots him with another arrow, causing you to collapse onto the ground unable to move while trying to grab the notebook before eventually losing consciousness. Then the man who captured him walks toward him happily thinking about all the money he'll receive for turning him in. But suddenly an airplane arrives at the location and Shun steps out from it. And after some time you wakes up inside the hospital and finds Tamori sitting beside him, thanking him for keeping his promise. Then you slowly rises with difficulty and sits on the bed before asking her who are you. Tamori becomes shocked, but still understands that he's obviously affected by the overwhelming pressure caused by stealing thousands of abilities. So she starts telling him all of their old memories that they experienced together, until suddenly she starts crying and tells him I'm happy that you returned. Meanwhile Shun and his friends head toward their friend Kumagami's grave and bid him farewell. And on the other side, you and the student council members gather together once again, take a picture together, and promise each other that they'll always remain friends.